Moon Knight, City of the Dead issue #1. That's right, folks. Is it the first time? I don't want to say first time in history we have two Moon Knight books going concurrently that are like in the same vein. It's weird to say, but yeah, we have another Moon Knight book right now. It's a mini series from David Pepose, and essentially it's just kind of following up on a story we kind of talked about in issue 25. I have a lot of thoughts about this book. There's so many interesting things I want to talk about with this. To start with, I want to say this because I kind of think this is like a part of the conception of City of the Dead. So when they announced the Moon Knight TV show, everyone was like, that's cool. I wonder what kind of interpretation they're going to do. So, because we have brand synergy and all of that, Marvel Comics said, well, if we get like a book started before the release of the show in March 2022, then we'll have like trades out for people to buy. So in like July of 2021, we had the first issue of Jed MacKay's Moon Knight, which at that point, there was no TV show to base it on. So, it was its own unique thing. And that unique thing is just the best Moon Knight story ever created. And then the show came out, and then the book we had on stands was different than the show. So that's something that fans are okay with, but a general audience might not be. So I think, again, this is just my personal belief and my theory currently operating, that this book exists because they wanted to make something based on the show. Because if you look at this book, holy crap, does it do a lot of things the show did. And I don't know if I want to like reiterate all the points of the show. I didn't love the show, but seeing it in the comic book, it is a little better. It's still stuff that the character does I'm not a big fan of. Now, the other part of this book I'm still kind of getting used to, as I've covered every issue of the Jed MacKay run, is David Pepose actually doing the words and Marcelo Ferreira doing the art. It's hard to adjust to that because we had such like a strong pairing before, but this Mark Spector, when we open up the book, is a little more, how do I put this? He's a little more like down on himself than we've seen recently. And he kind of opens this book just like reiterating like the past and the penance and all the mistakes he's made that he's trying to forget, which is kind of cool. There is a little bit of like the retconning of the origin here, where we're introducing Layla as the first wife, which is, look, I'm fine with that. Layla was the best part of that show. We'll get into it in a minute here, but we cut to this kid called Khalil Nasser, and he is being chased down the streets next to the Midnight Mission, and he's being hunted by these guys called Sons of the Jackal. Now, these are guys that worship the Egyptian god of death, Anubis, and they're trying to kill this kid, and Moon Knight comes in to fight them. So they kind of said this book was going to be like a flashback-ish kind of book, dealing with like a story from the past, but it does take place in the current timeline. I guess the concept and the characters are kind of like from the past, so that's fine. And it doesn't say when this would take place during the timeline, because not that it matters, but there is a distinct difference kind of in like the costuming, which again, an artist's interpretation, that doesn't bother me. It is Rochelle Rosenberg doing the colors again, so there is like the blue hue that is outlining everything going on with Mark. Now, the other thing about this book too is like the lettering, when it's like the narration from Mark, is like green. Now, I'd have to go back and check, but I thought green was the color of narration bubble for Jake. I can't remember if that's the case or not, so I like don't want to have that, like say that and be like, oh, that's a mistake, because I don't remember. But Mark just beats up the Sons of the Jackal for a bit. It looks like it's going good, and he's kicking ass. And it's more brutal than what we've seen in this book before, which I'm okay with. He is hurting them. He's injuring them. He scares the last guy so bad he runs out into the street and gets hit by like a truck and then dies. And we like just watch that happen, but we also see that Khalil got hurt in the fight. So he's like, I gotta fix this kid now. So he rushes to the home of Badir, who we know is Hunter's Moon. And yeah, it's kind of like this stuff. I guess it's like an unspecified time in their history. It could take place after 25, but they don't address the issues that were brought up in 25, so I don't know. Speaking of issue 25, this is unrelated to City of the Dead, but I heard like theories saying that maybe Black Spectre was like Dr. Plesko, and I feel stupid for saying it was Randall now. It's probably Plesko. Okay, Mark breaks in, he has the kid. They lay him on the operating table hoping they could save this child's life. It looks like it might be working, but as Badir says, look, he was dead like long before we did this. Like, I couldn't save him for any capacity, and that pisses Mark off. He's like, look, his body is still intact. That doesn't mean he's dead yet. You know, you know as well as I that his body is still here. It's only been 5 minutes, so there's still a chance I can save his soul. So Mark opens up like a sarcophagus, and then Badir's like, you cannot seriously be thinking of mummifying yourself and going to the City of the Dead. And Mark's like, that's what I'm thinking. This boy's still a traveler of the night. He's still under my protection. I'm going to go do that. Badir's like, well, okay, I guess I should help you instead of doing something stupid. So Badir mummifies Mark, puts him in the sarcophagus, and does the enchantment and the ritual, blah, blah, blah. Mark gets sent into the City of the Dead, which, look at that. Looks an awful lot like the colors and design we saw in the TV show. Isn't that interesting? I get why they're doing it. Look, a basic concept alone. I love the idea that Mark's so pissed he couldn't save this child, and that this random incident that should just be like the death of this kid was associated to like some Egyptian god shit, and he's just like, I have to go deal with that, so he kills himself and goes to the City of the Dead. I like that a lot. It's a very cool concept. I just wish it didn't have the connotation of being connected to the TV show, which we'll get into in a minute here. So Mark starts traveling around the city. He walks up to these gates where there's like these, I don't know what gods these are supposed to be. They reference that Mark needs to see the mighty Osiris, which I know is a name that appeared in the TV show. So I'm like, okay, fine. There's like a bird guy and a lion guy, which the lion god has made an appearance before in like the Black, White, and Blood book. David Pepose might have wrote that one too, so that's fine. They're like, you can't enter the gate. He's like, you don't understand. This wasn't a request. Like, I'm getting in there. And they're like, you're not. If you even attempt, we're going to throw you out into, like, the sandy dunes, which is, again, from the TV show, like the sandy plains where you just, like, get lost in all of time or whatever. And we see, like, this lost traveling soul's, like, trapped in, like, the sandy dunes, screaming for help. And then, like, there's, like, a rumbling in the sand below them. And Amut the Devourer shows up, the big crocodile. Eats him. You're like, okay, cool. I do appreciate that this book is just very, like, graphic. Like, that guy got hit by a bus. We killed this kid. A crocodile just ate this dude. And Mark's like, okay, I guess I gotta figure out where the Sons of the Jackal are. And we'll figure out where that is, too. So here, I have to bring this up. Because this literally, like, just threw me through a loop. And I don't know if I'm going crazy or not. Mark is looking through, like, the City of the Dead. There's, like, a bunch of different creatures and stuff. And he sees Peter Alrun from the first book at the archaeological site, Marlene's dad. But here is what tripped me up, and I'm going to put it on screen to talk about it. When Mark sees him, it says Dr. Alrun, which that's not the spelling, right? Now, this has been messing me up because I looked at, like, the Wikipedia and the Marvel Wiki. I'm almost positive that is not the spelling. But as I sit here, I feel like I'm losing my mind thinking about it. I know it's not. I know that's not the spelling, but am I losing my mind? It's Alrun. It's A-L-R-A, not A-L-A-R. How'd that happen? And see, a mistake like that does make me think they used the wrong letter coloring for Mark's voice. So I don't know how I feel about that. But hey, the doc's here. And Mark also sees that one of the Sons of the Jackal showed up, so he starts chasing him down. He's like, you gotta tell me what you did to that kid. And he just stumbles into, like, a lair with the other Sons of the Jackals again. So another fight's about to take place. They, like, use some, like, the heart. What's the heart from? They use a magic heart, and it takes them through time. And we see Mark, like, fight a werewolf creature through, like, time. like all of his key events, like the birth of Moon Knight to ripping off Bushman's face, going like against the Black Spectre and all that stuff. So that's kind of cool. He eventually ends up in the time we saw of the Karnak Cowboys, which is the streets of Alexandria, when the Karnak Cowboys were fighting Hydra. And he's like, I know this event. This is when I truly lost everything. And I'm like, no, just in a retcon, you truly lost everything. This isn't... Okay, oh man. Okay, so it's kind of exciting to me that I get to be in this era of Moon Knight where I could talk about like retcons and like what I like more about a thing the character has done. We are really pushing Layla, which I love Layla, that's fine. And one of the things we're doing here is making her the definitive love of Mark Spector, which does kind of like just cut the dagger deeper into the back of Marlene a little bit, doesn't it? I don't appreciate that. But Mark's like, yeah, we're here. You made a terrible mistake. I've reckoned with my demons, and I know how this story ends. I don't care if this place burns. And then we just see like a helicarrier like, nuke Alexandria, and you're like, what is happening? That's crazy. But yeah, we cut back to like the real city of the dead, and one of the guys is like about to like hit Mark with like a sickle or something. And then we see like, what is shot at him? I guess it's like a, I don't know what kind of weapon that is. It's, I guess, like a disc or something. But we see in the City of the Dead is Layla El Foyle, and she has become the Scarlet Scarab. Just like the TV show, she's still working for Taweret? Or Taweret? I don't remember. The hippo. But she's a scarab. Explain that to me. I don't care. Movie costume updated for comic. It looks great. Marvel Legends make the action figure now. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm here for it, okay? Look, in issue 25 of Moon Knight, Layla died at the hands of the Karnak Cowboy event with Hydra, and now she is living in the Sea of the... So, okay, she's kind of like the hero of the City of the Dead. Okay, I can live with that. That's kind of like... It brings her into the moment without actually her be there. Sure. Fine by me. I can't hate it. I don't love it per se, and that's fine. But Layla El Foyle was the best part of the show. Scarlet Scarab is a cool idea and a character that has previously existed in Moon Knight lore, now getting to become something better. That's kind of cool. And bringing her into the comic books this way, it's kind of exciting because why would have Mark been here? Now, other writers have different versions of the City of the Dead. I'm sure we've seen it before in Moon Knight, but whatever, I don't care. I'm happy to see her. And then we see that the spirit of Khalil is alive, and he's being, like, watched over by, like, this... It's Anubis' Moon Knight. He's called the Jackal Knight. And, yeah. Okay. I mean, that is such a, like, MCU concept of, like, he's just the opposite. It's like a Moon Knight for a different god. And I'm like, I don't love that. But this guy worships Anubis. He's like, thanks to the might of Anubis, I have all like these ghosts from the past of Moon Knight ready to come back and fight him. And I'm like, okay, cool. We got a growing rogues gallery here, and you will see in the rogues gallery. I'm not going to list them all off, but you figured it out. In the rogues gallery is the Carson Knowles edition of Black Spectre. Is that a saying? It's not Carson in the real world? Is that what we're saying? Okay. That's where the book ends. So, it's very interesting. First off, there is a spelling mistake in the book. There might be a lettering mistake with the colors. I can't confirm that at the moment. The story is very MCU Moon Knight based, trying to give us that aesthetic. Look, leaning into the Egyptian stuff is very fine. It does get to kind of, I guess, like a problem when Mark Spector is just like a white guy and he's entering the world. It doesn't matter. Look, we're used to it by now. It's fine. The idea of Mark going to the City of the Dead to save this kid, I really enjoy. The Jackal Knight and like these two guards that are like guarding the door, it's not my preferred stuff with the character. I do like Mark falling through time and seeing all like his famous moments. He's like, I don't give a shit. I've lived through this. I'm fine. Let it all burn. I don't care. That's kind of cool. And Layla is fun. Some of the execution, not the biggest fan of, but The writing's just, it's just not there for me yet. This first issue, we're headed to a really interesting story. I hope it picks up. But this first issue, yeah, I cannot say I loved it. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm just glad it exists, you know? Another Moon Knight book. That's kind of fun. So, Moon Knight City of the Dead issue number 1. I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.